Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are digging into a really powerful idea, one that might just flip your understanding of church mission on its head. The big question is, what if the church doesn't have a mission, but actually exists for a mission? We're going to trace this whole concept from its most ancient roots all the way to today. It could change everything, so let's get into it.
All right, so first things first, let's talk about how most people think about mission. The source for our explainer today makes a pretty bold claim that for a lot of us, we've got the entire idea completely backward. We tend to see it as just one more thing a church does. So this really is the question at the heart of it all. Is mission just another program? Another item on that long list of church activities? Something you can sign up for or not? Or is it something way, way more essential to what the church even is?
Here's a great way to think about it. For many people, mission is kind of like getting leather seats in a new car. I mean, they're really nice to have, right? A definite upgrade, but the car runs just fine without them. It's an option, an extra. It's not the engine.
But here's the huge counter-argument. Mission isn't the leather seats. No way. It's the engine. It's the wheels, the steering wheel, the whole drivetrain. It is the entire reason the car was built in the first place. See, without its mission, the church is just a box sitting in a garage, not going anywhere. It's not optional. It is the entire point.
And this really lays out the two different ways of thinking, side by side. On the one hand, you have the common view. Mission is a program, an item on a checklist, something you can choose. But on the other hand, you have this completely different way of seeing it. Mission isn't something the church does. It's the very core of its identity. It's not a department. It's the whole reason the organization exists.
Now, to really get this deeper meaning, we have to go way back. I mean, all the way back to the beginning, to a foundational promise made in Genesis chapter 12. This is where the seed of this entire mission was first planted. Okay, so before we jump into the story, we've got to understand this one key word, covenant. This isn't just your everyday promise. A covenant is a serious, binding, two-way agreement. Think of it like a marriage vow or a really important contract. Both sides have a part to play, both sides have responsibilities.
And that is exactly what we see happening in Genesis 12. God makes a covenant with a man named Abram. He promises to bless him and make his family into a great nation. But, and this is crucial, it was never a one-way deal. In return, Abram's people had a job to do. They had to worship God and, just as important, they had to be a blessing to others. And here it is. This is the part that changes everything. The whole purpose of this blessing was never meant to be kept to themselves. It was always, from day one, meant to be shared. The goal was for this blessing to reach everybody, all the families of the earth. This is it. This is the origin story of God's global mission.
Okay, now let's hit the fast forward button for a few thousand years. That ancient promise, it doesn't just fade into history. We hear this incredible, powerful echo of that exact same idea. But this time, it's on a mountainside in Galilee.
Understanding the connection between that moment in Genesis and this one in Galilee is absolutely central to the whole argument. It shows that this isn't two different stories. It's one single unfolding purpose that runs through the entire biblical narrative.
So right at the end of his time on earth, Jesus gives his followers their final instructions, what's often called the Great Commission. Go and make disciples of all nations. Do you hear it? Just listen to the scope of that command. It's that same outward-facing global purpose from the promise to Abram. This is a direct continuation of that original mission. So, drawing this straight line from Genesis all the way to Matthew brings us to the biggest, most important idea in this entire explainer. Seriously, this is the moment where our whole perspective on mission gets turned completely inside out.
We usually frame the conversation like this, don't we? We talk about the mission of the church. We plan it, we debate it, we make budgets for it, as if it's something we own, something that belongs to us.
But what if we're asking the wrong question altogether? What if the church doesn't have a mission? What if, instead, the church exists for a mission that God kicked off a long, long time ago?
And here it is. This quote from the theologian Chris Wright just nails it. It perfectly captures this massive shift in thinking. The mission doesn't belong to the church. The church belongs to the mission. God already has a mission to bless the world, and the church is the community he created to join in on that pre-existing, ongoing work.
So, okay, if the church exists for God's mission, what does that mean for you and me, for individuals?
Well, the source boils it down to a really clear two-part calling that actually starts from the inside and works its way out.
First things first, the mission begins with you. The primary, number one call is to be a disciple, to actually live out the teachings of Jesus in how you love people, how you forgive, how you bring people together. It's only after that that the secondary, external call comes in, to make disciples. And that just means inviting other people to experience and grow into that same way of life. It makes sense, right? You can't give away something you don't have yourself. So how do we actually do this? Well, the source gives 3 really practical steps. First, you study and reflect. You really try to understand what this mission is all about. Second, and this is the tough one, you take a fearless personal inventory. You have to ask yourself, honestly, what other priorities in my life, my personal goals, my finances, even my politics, are getting in the way of God's mission? And finally, after you do that hard internal work, then you can turn outward and share the blessing you've received with the world.
And that's really where we land. If the real fundamental purpose isn't just to support a church program, but to actually be and to share a blessing with every single person and every place you go, what does that look like for you? I mean, in your life, at your job, in your neighborhood? It's a question that honestly changes everything.